welcome back to Chewing the Channel. We've got another Women in Channel Takeover. I'm joined today by Nisreen, Chief Commercial Officer at All Points Fibre. We'll be delving into her career highlights, how she got into telco, and what the Women in Channel community means to her. Hope you enjoy. Hi Nisreen, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, of course. So I feel like a good place to start is maybe just introduce yourself and let us know where you're from.
So I'm Nisreen El-kaloush. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at All Points Fibre Networks.
I thought a good place to start. It's quite interesting because I've only done a couple of these, but every time I sort of tend to sort of look on LinkedIn and sort of where you've worked, where you've been, but I couldn't find much on you. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to ask her? But we used to work together, so I know a little bit. But I think it'd be really interesting to hear about, obviously, you're Chief Commercial Officer. How, where did you come from? Did you always dream of being in telecoms? I feel like that would be a good place to start, if that's okay.
Very good question. You are right. There's very little out there about me. I'm not the most social media savvy, but that adds a little bit of mystery, I guess.
Definitely.
So I probably would start with saying, if someone asked the 16-year-old version of me, and I'm not going to admit how old I am today, what did I want to be when I was a little older, I probably wouldn't have anticipated this role. It's probably worth just saying that the younger version of me was very much an introvert and very fearful of anything. And actually part of my career and part of the development was to be a more confident lady. So I started my career actually at Dell Computers Corporation. That's where I started. I was an order entry clerk.
How old were you then?
Oh, I was 21. I had just finished a degree in physics and biology, so I had a joint honours degree. Didn't know what I wanted to do, and the first job was that role. That was my first real job, and what I realised was that I didn't want to be that sort of monotonous role. I got bored, basically. So I actually decided to get into finance. So I qualified.
Yes, I did know this.
Did you see that?
Yeah. No, I think you told me previously that you did a bit of finance. Yeah.
I did. I don't always admit to it. And it's not that I'm not proud of it. I'm super proud of it. And actually, it's helped my role. It's helped me develop.
I can imagine,
I became a ACCA qualified accountant whilst I was working for KLA Tencor, who were a semiconductor organisation. So I went from blue chip to semiconductor industry. So there's a little bit of my physics there. And what they do is they create these blue chips that the big wafer discs actually that become the chips that you have in your phones, your digital devices. And at that point, I realised that conforming to month-end and year-end on a regular basis would bore me. So that's where I sort of deviated into commercial. And so that was my first experience of commercial. I joined Cable and Wireless at that time. And then I just moved up. So I stayed with Cable and Wireless. I moved along from commercial manager to commercial finance manager into product. Then decided I wanted to travel the world, came back to the UK, ran out of money, so I joined Vodafone, entered commercial again as head of commercial, and then just consistently progressed in that. So I moved from Vodafone to Virgin, from Virgin to TalkTalk, and then I'm now at All Points Fibre. And the experience for me was always, how do I try and extend my knowledge? So anything that made me uncomfortable and scared me, I would run to it.
I love that.
That was it was like one of those blue flies, those blue lights that flies. That was me. I would see it and I'd go for it. And so I, throughout telecoms, I just tried to experience both enterprise and wholesale, broadened my experience, and now in the role that I'm in, I am really grateful for all the experiences I've learnt and all the people that I've met in developing who I am. So that's kind of how I got here.
It's really interesting. I've done a couple of these, and a lot of the common, I would say, themes have been taking sort of fear in your stride. Would you say that's maybe what's encouraged you and helped you get to where you are now at All Points?
100%.
Yeah.
I think, so first of all, the telecoms industry is quite a male-orientated industry. You add to that someone that maybe doesn't conform to normality. And you then compound that even further with a role that is 99.999% of the time male. And you put me in it. So that was a challenge in itself.
Of course.
The other piece was, yes, I mean, as I said, I was such an introvert. I wanted to blend in. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to be seen. That was who I was when I was a teenager. And as I developed and as I got into the roles that I did, I would put myself in those uncomfortable positions and realise that actually there was more to me than I even realised myself.
Yeah. I imagine, I've been in similar situations, you know, you walk into a boardroom full of 15 men and, you know, for you, like with, you know, not just your sexuality, but your culture. And I imagine that being quite tricky to navigate. I guess if there was someone else maybe joining the industry or with similar challenges, is there any like advice or tips or how you worked your way through that?
Yeah, it took me a while.
Yeah.
I have to admit, it wasn't something that I mastered overnight. There were many occasions of, you know, locking yourself in a toilet crying, you know, and you're thinking, oh my God, what's going on? Two things really happened. One was I did have a really bad experience, and at the time I was working for someone who took me aside and said to me, think of one thing, as you enter the room, people have an opinion of you, and you have 30 seconds to surprise them.
To change that opinion.
So that was one thing. And I think the other for me was realising that I will always be underestimated. And as a consequence, you had the upper hand because you realise that you're actually smarter than people realise you are.
Yeah.
So I got across the, you know, because there were times where people would look at you and go, you know, or come up with sort of statements like, oh, you speak English. It's like, yeah, I do actually. You know, there's this sort of automatic assumption and bias towards you. And I learnt, and as I said, it took me a good 15 years, I would say, to really come out of those sort of shackles and consider how I use that to my advantage. And I'd say that over the last 2 years, I've probably gotten more and more confident about it and start enjoying using that to my advantage.
Yeah. No, it's resonates with me a lot because I think when I have been asked questions like that in the past about being underestimated and how do you feel when you go into a room and, you know, people make these assumptions of you? But I think when you flip that on its head and actually, like you said, you've got the upper hand, it's actually can be quite empowering but also satisfying seeing people so quickly change their opinion of you. So
100%.
And did you ever find, because I know obviously, have you ever been sort of C-suite before? Has it always been sort of head of commercial type roles?
So I was, this is the first C-suite role.
Yeah.
I was senior within Virgin Media. I was part of the executive team, but it wasn't the same level. Within a large organisation like Virgin, you've got layer upon layer upon layer. So I'd say this is the first official executive role.
Did you ever find it hard to sort of, I mean, probably more at the start of your career, but be a leader without that sort of title role? Yeah, because I just imagine without, you know, you come into a room now, Chief Commercial Officer, All Points Fibre, everyone turns their head and listens to you. But when you know you're the smartest person in the room and no one's listening to you because maybe you're just working in the commercial team or, you know, all those years that you built up, I guess how did you do that, or is there any advice on that?
Again, it took a while to master that, if I'm honest. It's interesting because people would always look at as you say, the most experienced person in the room more often. Again, by the way, I'm not a feminist, just in case I keep saying
neither of us are.
Yeah, neither of us are. But I think, you know, what's interesting is people would always sort of swarm towards the individual that they feel has the most knowledge and the most presence, and it more often was a chap, right, a guy. And as you say, I think there's an element of, at some point you acknowledge you are smart, because for a while I didn't think I was, you know, because you have to keep challenging and fighting to be heard.
Yeah.
And I think what will happen is, over time, the more you truly believe in yourself, and I know loads of people say, hey, look, you've got to believe in yourself. If you don't love yourself, nobody's going to. It is true. It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror or to acknowledge who you are and what you can bring to the table. But genuinely, if you can't recognise what you can do, it's incredibly hard for others to acknowledge it, because you don't have that confidence. Confidence isn't just about what you say, it's how you present yourself, it's how you hold the room, how you deal with difficult situations. As a woman, you know, if you challenge something, it could be, oh, she's emotional, or, you know, she's under, you know, whereas if a guy, you know, beats his fist on a table, it's fine. So you're constantly having to tread delicate steps. The thing I would say, be yourself, stand by the advice I would get is, know who you are. Don't be someone that you think others want you to be. The more that you believe in who you are, and the more that you hold yourself and are proud of who you are, the more that people will respect you. And you are right, the title helps. There's no doubt about it. If you have a title and that title commands respect, it makes life a lot easier. But you're not born with that title, you have to get there. And as I said, if someone said to me when I was 16, what role would you, I would never have thought this was the role that I would have achieved. But by being who I am, trusting on who I am, acknowledging that certain environments aren't conducive to who I am, like there are certain environments that just won't accept that, and you just have to go, okay, it's not the right place for me. You will you will find the right environment, and you will find the right role, and therefore that can command some level of confidence. But I don't think it's just the title. I do think it's something about who you are, standing by your values, and not being something you're not.
Yeah, for sure. And have you felt you've had any, I guess, male or female mentors or inspirations that have helped you on that journey?
I do, yeah. I wouldn't say it's one individual. I think I have this sort of habit of looking about around me and see, and it's not just work, by the way, this is just personal life as well, looking at people and how they deal with certain circumstances, when I know that I would probably just storm off, you know, feeling, oh my God, you know, things have not quite worked. Watching how people have dealt with those difficult situations and learning from it. I'm a very visual, practical learner. And so therefore I observe people and I consider what they do. But as I said, that one person at Vodafone, I won't name them because I don't want to embarrass them.
Yeah, of course.
But that, and it was a chap, so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a female. He was of an ethnic minority as well, and I think that was probably the biggest lesson that I've learned, which really helped gauge or to start to change how I gauged what was going on around me. But yeah, I just surround myself with people who are positive minded.
No, I completely agree. I think especially in a scenario where maybe people are working, you know, in a company like All Points Fibre for starters, you know, where everyone's got to get their heads together and work really hard. If you've got anyone with that negative mindset, it can, I think it can really hold you back, hold the team back. So you would say that person at, did you say Vodafone?
Yeah.
Was there anything that they did that helped you, sort of made you realise that you could maybe go further or take that next step?
I think, funny enough, I worked for that person 2 other times.
Really?
One at Talk and another at Drax Energy. I did forget to tell you about Drax Energy, but that was just a blip in my career of moving to energy and then coming back into telco. But yeah, I think that sort of consistency around knowing there's somebody that respects and sees you as a confident person. The other person that I would say as well has helped me around, and it sounds a bit cheesy, but it is my husband, actually. My husband I've known him so we met at Vodafone, so we've known each other for a long time, and he has been my consistent cheerleader. Like, just kind of lifting me from when, things got really hard twice in my career, where, you kind of have lost your identity and, the sort of feeling in that really difficult, who am I, what am I doing, I'm rubbish at this, what is going on?
Yeah.
And having someone that you can rely on that isn't going to just tell you what you want to hear, but actually tells you the truth and gives you sort of help and is that sounding board. Neil Yusuf out there, has been a phenomenal sort of person for me, I have to say.
A bit of a rock.
100%.
So is he's in telco as well?
He is, yeah.
That's nice.
It is.
Nice to have a sounding board.
Yeah, just
that
in case
understands it. Yeah.
Yeah, just in case you think that's all we talk about at home, it's not. So we don't talk about work. But it is. Yeah.
I get it. I think having someone that you can talk to that's not going to judge you, that is that close to home, that you can sort of, a sounding board rock, that you can bang stuff off and they give you, real truthful advice. I think helps a lot. Did you have any, so you're talking about when you were younger, you wouldn't have ever saw yourself in this role. Did you have any sort of idea of what you wanted to do? Or was it very much like blank canvas?
Yeah, it was a blank canvas. I mean, I'm a lot older than you. As I said, I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Just genetics and all of that can help me look like a bit younger. But I remember at school we had, you'd kind of go and meet somebody who tells you, based on your skill sets, based on what you can do, this is what you'll do. And I was actually told I would never succumb to anything other than a receptionist. And that in itself, and I didn't realise at the time, that in itself made me go, yeah, I'm going to show you. And I think that determination of when someone says you can't, I go, well, I'm going to show you I can.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, you have.
I have seen this.
You know me well, Teigan. So so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I think I'm quite a creative person. I thought I was going to get into fashion or art, or because I love that sort of creativity, but somehow fell into physics and then into finance and now into connectivity. So I don't really know how I found myself here, but I did. Yeah. And
are you happy you did?
Oh, I am. Yeah, I love it. I still do. I still dabble at home in art, so you can still get the two together. But yeah, I'm happy where I am.
Been in the industry quite a long time with all the places you've worked. Have you seen a change, I would say, in the way that women are maybe treated and in the workplace? Has that been a positive change?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, look, we still have situations that are still very male orientated.
Yeah.
Certain industry events, you sort of turn up and you're the only female, or
you lock eyes and cling to each other.
You're like, hey, there's another one. But actually, when we look at the industry, there are some phenomenal female leaders. Yeah. Coming across, whether it's Katie Milligan at Openreach and Surinder Qatar as well at Openreach. You look at Alison at BT as well. There are some great female leaders that are coming through, and I think that is phenomenal. And I think we just need to embrace that. And it's not to say that one is better than the other. I think there is some great nuances between culture, diversity, ethnicity, sex, all of that actually when you combine the variety, you have such a an amazing outcome. It's not just one thinking, it's not just one background, it's not one formed place. So I am starting to see that change. It's actually really nice to occasionally go into the room and feel like, oh my gosh, it's 50-50. I'm really proud in All Points. Within the commercial team particularly, there's a really good mix of culture and kind of almost 50-50 between women and men. And even All Points are throughout, we've got a really good mix. I do think we still have more to go at, though. I think when you look at engineering within the telecoms industry, in some of the sales roles and commercial roles, there is leniency to. I don't think enough young women know about the role, so I think we need to start to educate.
For sure, I mean, I've had a lot of conversations about this recently. I get asked all the time, how do we get more women to join this industry? And I think for me, it's potentially going into colleges and schools and educating on. Yes, internet, telco, it sounds a bit boring, but actually the reality is that it's a really fun environment, a fun place to industry to work in. And I think as a female there is ample of opportunity if you're up for it. But I wonder if there's anything you've ever thought of that potentially you think this could help encourage more women to maybe go down engineering or come into sales. I don't know if there's anything you've ever thought of. It's a hard question, isn't it?
It is. I think what I've found, and again it goes back to you, as you mentioned, I'm not particularly across LinkedIn and things like that, but I've actually found people have come to me and said, oh, you've got to this role, how have you got there? Or if there's events, people come to me and go, wow, I'd love to do what you're doing, how did you get there? So I use those opportunities to talk through and help, I guess, unlock some of that potential that people see. The other thing, it's actually something we were talking about earlier, is an initiative we're running at All Points with a recipe for change. We're encouraging people from across industries of differing levels, and our ethos is to attempt to sort of generate a movement. So it's not just about getting together. So we're calling it not just networking, it's about a movement, and we want to be able to enable those who probably think that, or either don't know much about the industry, don't know the sorts of roles that exist in the industry, right? I mean, commercial is an incredibly creative, exciting, fast-paced, challenging role, and that's why I love it. There's never a consistent day, and that's why I love it so much. But if someone asked me again when I was 16, what is commercial, I wouldn't even know about it. So so we're hoping that through the recipe of change is we're starting to think about how do we, if we're going to bring a group of people together, how do we start to educate? Is it, to your point, at colleges and universities? I think it needs to start at schools. I think when you get to college, it's a bit too late, right? But how do you start right at the beginning? How do you encourage people to think about the roles that exist and how that could drive a slightly different future for them, let's say. But it's not an easy thing to solve for. We all have to, I think, share our experiences and talk about what we do, so it
definitely
people can relate to it.
And I've been really lucky. I've spoken about it before, but when I was working at All Points, I had yourself as a bit of a shadow mentor and Kate as well. But I think that education piece is really important, especially with, I think, people coming into the industry, but also just people around you, because I think sometimes your male colleagues just it's not that they're against what you're saying or anything, but sometimes they're just not aware of it because they don't see it every day like we do. So I went to a panel recently at Connected Britain. My boss was actually on the panel, and a question was asked around anonymous CVs and whether you thought that potentially works, because I think there's an argument to say that you obviously shouldn't hire someone just because of their gender, and we should be hiring the right person for the role. I wonder if, do you think that would work, even as just like an intro to someone to then shortlist, and then you find out potentially whether they're female, male, or whatever. But do you think that would work?
It's a very good question. I think more often than not, it's personal view only. More often than not, it's less about getting the role. Sometimes it's about succeeding in the role, or being given the chance to succeed in the role. I think anonymous, yes, there's no harm in that, because you are normalizing everything, aren't you? Kind of removing any of that unconscious bias, and whether that helps entirely in the sense of going back to we should be proud of who we are and our values and who, kind of, I feel like you're losing a little bit of that person's identity by doing that.
Okay, yeah.
Personal view. However, I can see in certain industries and certain organisations, actually, you're measuring people through what they say in their CV as opposed to who they are.
Yeah.
So I guess it could work if that is the right way, and I'm not saying it is or isn't. If that is the right way, there is an additional piece around how you give people the support in their roles.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what level you're at.
Yeah.
Everyone needs support and to ensure that they're successful.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a tricky one. Personally, I think it would only work at a really entry level, and eliminate that, unconscious bias. But like you said, you need to make sure there's the right, people are different, so you need to make sure there's the right support in place for that role.
Yeah, and I think the recruitment's changing as well in itself. I think, as you say, the more senior the roles are, the more that you use your network to identify the right person for the right environment with the right skills.
Yeah.
And therefore the CV almost becomes, I'm going to say the word redundant, but on the basis of, you are a high performing business, a high performing team is about trusting that you can build a team of differing people as opposed to just press repeat mini-me's, and by that it means that you're more reliant now around your own network and recommendations, and I think that in itself probably helps remove some of that bias.
Have you so you've got children, haven't you?
Well, so my husband came with 4.
Oh, so, okay. So you haven't had any?
I haven't had. No,
Oh,
I've got 3 beautiful nephews, 3 beautiful nieces, and Neil has 4 amazing children of varying ages, and so we're a big sort of happy family, really. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask if motherhood or obviously having children ever affected your career, but I assume it probably didn't then.
It was more that I'm incredibly family orientated. Culturally, family is first.
Yeah.
And so although I may have not had children myself, my nephews and my nieces in particular we have a very close-knit sort of relationship, and we all sort of chip in, we all sort of help. And so for me, balancing that as well,
work-life balance.
Yeah, 100%. I look after my father. So there's this. I think we all, whether you have children of your own or not, I think we all have external factors that, we have to balance between our careers and our personal life. And I've taken 2 career gaps within my.
Have you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. Each around about 18 months. So to sort of take away some time and then get back into it's quite hard. So although I don't have children, I can relate to that feeling of having to get back in and having to sort of.
Did you just take time off completely?
Yeah, I did. I did. First time around was the traveling. And as I said, I ran out of money, so I needed to come back. And,
where did you go?
So I went as far as Hawaii, and then on that side of the world, and then as far as Oman on that side of the world. So everything in between. So I did most of America. I didn't get to South America, sadly. So most of America, I'd run out of money by then. South America, Europe, North Africa, and into the Middle East. So so when I retire in the coming years, I hope, it's probably about another 15 years, but I'd love to do the rest of the world. That would be that's my dream.
And what, do you mind me asking why you took your second time off?
It was actually one of the bad experiences for my career. So I think, it's one of those moments where looking back at it now, I've learned so much about myself, and also what I would accept versus what I'm not going to accept, because you're constantly fighting to be heard, to be an equal, to be treated as an equal. When I was in that environment, I didn't see that actually I was doing more harm to myself than good. And it's that determination, right? I was like, nobody's going to make me fail. Hell no. And it was an incredibly narcissistic, sexist, racial experience.
Right.
And I came out of it very deflated. Mental health was really poor, and it took me 18 months to rebuild myself. You grow stronger. Now, looking back at it now, I will be very specific around who I join, what company I'll work for. Who I work for becomes really important. I don't want a toxic environment. We should be working to, enjoy the reaps of the money that we get to enjoy our lives, not that sort of fighting for survival. And so that's why I took the time off, really, to build myself up again.
Why do you think, if you don't want to talk about this, it's fine, but why do you think you did yourself more harm? Was it from sort of speaking out and pushing against those sort of opinions?
Yeah, it was a bit around that.
Yeah.
So, you kind of, it was a commercial role again, and so the role in itself will always have tension with the rest of the organisation. And in that particular role, I wasn't managing sales, but I was managing the commercial pricing and the deals that we would construct. And so the conflict came from those who just wanted to do their own thing, and I wasn't able to perform my job. And what was really hard was that I didn't have the security through the people that I should have had, that I could have trusted in that environment. And so what you found yourself was actually isolated. The one thing I will say is what became apparent was I was recruited to hit a statistic. So this is the flip side of your point around the bias and things.
Yeah.
And it was quite, I can smile about it now.
Of course, yeah.
But at the time it was quite chilling, because as I left, I was told this. And the reason I was recruited was because I was female. I was an ethnic minority.
Yeah.
Although I don't see myself an ethnic minority, but there we go. That's a classification I'm not very, support.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that this role, they wanted to hit a statistic. And looking back at it, that role as well, it wasn't myself, it wasn't just myself, there were a number of other females that they'd brought in and lasted for about the same time as I did. So it's this sort of consistent environment of trying to hit an internal criteria rather than actually doing the right thing, and to your point, recruiting who you need rather than
hitting a statistic.
So that's so that was it.
Interesting.
But you're stronger for it. That's what I'd say.
For sure. I mean, I haven't, thank the Lord, I haven't had any experiences quite like that. But I did go to drama school, and I always say to my bosses at Elevate, I don't think anything could ever beat drama school. It sounds fun, but it was not fun. But no, thank you for sharing. Have you got a career highlight?
I have to say, it has to be All Points. I have never worked so hard in my life, but I've never loved my role so much. The people I get to work with, whether that's within the commercial team or the rest of the executive team, it's this healthy challenge and respect that exists. I love chaos. So Working for a well-oiled German machine would just switch me off. And working for an organisation that's about challenge and about change and about disruption really hits everything that excites me.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Wallace and Gromit's on the train and he's building the tracks while it's all moving, that's the environment I love.
Yeah.
And
so you love being busy. You love just that constant changing atmosphere.
Yeah. So I'd say getting the role and believing in myself and seeing that I can do this has been probably the highlight, I would say, for me.
And would you say sort of all those things that we spoke about earlier on, do you think you could have maybe got to where you are now without those things? Do you think that's helped you get to where you are?
Yeah. All the positives and negatives, actually.
Yeah.
I think we learn a lot about ourselves and a lot about how to deal with circumstances through difficult situations. And I think we the advice I always give people is that sometimes it feels really hard or impossible, but you will actually you'll find yourself out of that environment at some point. And it'll be sooner than you realise. And looking back at it, you will have learnt something through it, and you will be stronger as a consequence for it. So the Nisreen that is here in front of you, Teigan, the person you know that you worked with, certainly is better for everything that she's gone through. And I can look positively back at all the good and the not so good environments as a consequence.
And do you have any career aspirations from now? I mean, are you sort of, obviously I know you're happy where you are, but I think looking into the future, is it, sky's the limit, happy where you are? Sky's the limit.
Yeah. I would never have said that I was a career-driven person. And I've got to where I've got to through being who I am and doing what I've done, and then doors have opened. I've been really lucky. But I would love to take the next step up.
Would you?
Yeah, 100%.
I can see you doing it.
Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely.
So I would genuinely love to do that.
We've done this today to keep that drive, keep that momentum on encouraging women to, I guess, speak up about their experiences, being such an inspiring woman in the industry, talk about how they've got there. And I think, for myself, being in the industry a few years, it's really great to hear that maybe you didn't always believe in yourself. And it's so interesting to hear that those moments of fear is what's helped you get to where you are, and sort of stepping outside your comfort zone. In terms of like the Women in Channel, we touched on it a little bit. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
I think it's giving, because you talked earlier about mentors and things like that, and I think I always struggled to find someone that I felt I could relate to. And I hope that either through the recipe of change or through putting myself out in those uncomfortable situations, I can show people that may feel that they could relate to me, that it is possible. You can give it a go. We always have to try harder. I have to try extra harder because there's also an opinion about women and Muslims, and I wear a scarf, so I always have to try harder. I always have to smile more. I always have to be more polite. I always have to be more engaging. There's a lot of, and by the end of the day you feel exhausted because you're constantly having to think about what you should say.
And feel like you're almost proving yourself time and time again.
100%. And I wish it wasn't like that. I wish it wasn't. But that is the reality. And I think, the environment we're in, some of the things that are happening in the UK, it makes it incredibly hard, and it's not fun. But I think through doing things like this, which, I was so grateful for you to sort of suggest it, through putting myself in those uncomfortable situations. So we're at Comms Vision this year, and I'm going to be presenting, which, scares the living heebie-jeebies out of me. But, I'm going to do it because... well, why not? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll learn something from it. And so I'm just hoping that through these things we can just allow people to feel comfortable about talking about their personal experiences, saying how they feel, saying how they want to, what they want to do. I think when you see that others have gone through something similar, it feels like you can get through it, you know, to know that you're not on your own, you're not, because it can feel so lonely, so lonely at times when you don't have that network. So I think that's what I'd like to see, that we're doing things like that to just allow people to access knowledge or ability to feel safe and talk about things.
No, definitely. I completely agree. And what I actually don't know this, if you do or if you don't, but do you drink alcohol?
No,
I didn't think you did.
No.
I'd be interested to hear how you find industry events, because I've tried to be teetotal at a few of them, and being completely honest, really struggled. So I'd love to hear how you cope with that. Is it sort of stick around, duck early?
Sort of that,
especially when you're sort of one or two women there, it can be really, really tough. They're not my highlights, I have to say. So I tend, you can normally read the room, can't you? You can tell when it's kind of getting to the point of you should probably leave. And at the beginning of my career, I used to just never go to them. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just never used to go.
Yeah.
I never, I think I started when I was at Virgin, so I was the commercial director there, and you were part of the executive team, so you needed to be there. And I realised that when people got very drunk, that's when they wanted to talk about why they didn't get paid the commission that they wanted, or so they were having this sort of drunken argument with you, and you're sort of sitting there thinking, I can remember, I know everything, I will remember tomorrow everything you've said, and of course you can't, you've got to almost ignore what you see, but it's hard. What I do now is I do two things. One is I will stay around until I feel I'm beginning to feel a little uncomfortable. And I'll stay a little longer if I'm surrounded by the people I trust.
Okay.
And but I'm never the person that's there still till like 3 o'clock in the morning, I have to admit, because it just you kind of there are certain things you don't want to see or don't want, because you're not drinking and therefore you will remember it, and I don't want to sort of put that in my mind and then have this unconscious bias towards them, if that makes sense, because I know that alcohol can let's say make people merry.
It's an interesting subject, really, that our industry is so alcoholic centered, but it's just one of those things, when you go to those sorts of events. I think even the Women in Channel event we did, I mean, we had non-alcoholic options, but it was wine tasting, and I can just imagine that being quite tough sometimes in those scenarios.
It is, I mean, the number of award ceremonies and things that I go to, oh my goodness, like I'll sit, it might be even a table we've sponsored, and I'll arrive and all I get to choose from is water and water
or wine,
and you just sit there thinking, oh, hold on, and actually I think we're now in an environment where more and more people are choosing not to drink.
Definitely,
and the non-alcoholic choices are brilliant, I mean, I've not personally, I don't think it's necessarily that I don't like drink. I just don't like the taste of those. But my husband, who used to drink, and he tells me consistently, God, the zero beers, they just taste just like it, just no hangover. So I'm going to take his thoughts as what the reality is. But I think we still are in a society industry that encourages that, and we haven't really considered inclusivity in that way, because there's never a non-alcoholic version. There isn't a soft drink.
I've tried to get soft drinks at events before, and I've either had to pay in, which is fine, but it's never an option. It's beer, wine, or water.
Yeah, and if the jug of water that's emptied has emptied, you're like dry for the rest of the evening, and you're sitting there going, "Come on, like what am I going to get here?" So it can feel a bit awkward at times. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever had this, but if I go to an event sometimes and maybe I've decided not to drink for a specific reason, I've got a lot on the next day, you sort of almost get like shamed. It's like, come on, Teigan, you're no fun. Why are you not drinking? I'm like, I've got a lot of work to do tomorrow. So I imagine that being quite tough. Just,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are times where you get interrogated, don't you? It's like, why are you not drinking? But why? I mean, and I remember one time, this was back at Vodafone days again, I won't say the person, but it's a very senior person who was like, why don't you drink? And I was like, well, I just don't drink. I don't trust you if you don't drink. I'm thinking, what? Like, where did that come from?
Surely I'm more trustworthy if I don't drink.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, it does baffle people, but I think nowadays there's more and more.
There's definitely more of it now.
Yeah. I know some great senior leaders, across the industry who simply don't drink and are they'll take the non-alcoholics, and so there is a little bit of movement there towards it, but still a little bit more work.
I have one more question for you. Do you have, so I've asked this in my last one as well, do you have a party trick?
A party trick?
Oh
my
you don't
gosh.
have to do it.
No.
I'd love to know.
You don't. Well, my party tricks are normally me like tripping over or doing something silly. I'm not. I don't. That's the other reason I don't drink, probably, is because I don't need alcohol to be a bit of a nutter. So but I don't think I do have. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
It's normally me saying something silly or doing something silly that sort of tends to break the ice.
What about like a karaoke or dance?
Well, you don't want to sing. Oh, well, I do love a dance.
You do love a dance?
I do love a dance.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. So if you've got the right tunes, normally it's like The Killers or, that's sort of really, sort of upbeat, classic. Oh, yeah. Then, I struggle to not dance. Yeah, in my own sort of way.
Me too. Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, no, thank you. It's been an absolute joy.
It has.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. We've delved into how Nisreen started at just Dell Computers when she was 21 and how she's transitioned into Chief Commercial Officer at All Points Fibre, taking fear in her stride and not letting that be an obstacle. Don't forget to stream all our episodes on all relevant forums, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. And if you're interested in joining Elevate's Women in Channel forum, please get in touch. Thank you.